Harley and Ivy, Life and Crime, issue 1, and I didn't really know what to expect from this. I didn't realize this was going to be an origin story of their relationship. Like how they first properly, like, well, they do acknowledge there is a little like note here that they technically met maybe during No Man's Land, but that was like a brief encounter. It wasn't meaningful enough, right? We're ignoring that, but it wasn't like the start of their friendship or their relationship.
Yeah, we became aware of each other, but we weren't dating yet, is the vibe that I was getting from, which I did love.
Or even less than that, they didn't even just know each other personally. They were aware of each other's existence, but they didn't really know each other yet. And then this story is going to tell that tale. So, so regardless, it's basically the story of how they met, and like there's some monologues and whatnot. This is all ERICA Henderson doing both writing and art, just to mention that. So it turns out they met at Ace Chemicals, where Ivy was doing her eco-terrorism thing and was going to blow up the place with her fancy plant pod things that'll do it. And Harley's there writing letters to Joker because she's left him again and she's considering, do I go back to him? And she's in her old jester outfit here because it's meant to be the past, which makes sense. So she's having all these memories, and then Ivy comes out and they basically start having like an awkward like bickering match of like, why are you here, kind of thing, and blah 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 blah. And I mean, we'll get into the rest of the story. I mean, what did you think of the book before we go any further?
So I did like it. I already love, I love Harley and Ivy, right? I'm still reading Poison Ivy. We get enough of it there. I didn't necessarily think that I needed a rom-com version of their origin, but after reading it, I'm very curious to see where this goes because of some of the choices that were made that I'm sure we'll get to towards the end. But I really like the voices for both the characters. I think Henderson has a good vibe. The only thing that is a real big holdup is I'm not huge on the art because it feels cartoony in a different way. Like there's nothing actually wrong with it. There's just sometimes it just doesn't. It's not pleasing to my eye, if you will. Like there's a lot of blank spaces, right, with the panels. There's
it's a pulled back style for sure. I think what's so funny is that I think Harley looks really good because she looks just like the animated series, and I think that fits this cartoony style.
And it lands.
Ivy, because she has more, I guess, more of a blank normal face, but relative to Harley's like mask and stuff, is that she just looks a little bit like featureless at times when she's like yelling or whatever. Because they start bickering and Harley like grabs one of her petal things and she's like, "Wait, are you trying to kill us both?" And they're kind of like struggling, and Ivy ends up slapping her, and Harley punches her back again. So they have a bit of a fight. It's basically like a supervillain meet cute, for lack of a better term.
But I love in that sequence she goes, "Are you seriously fighting me over this dump?" And Harley, who's very at odds with her relationship with Joker, it's like, it's not toxic, it's not poison. And Ivy's like, no, it literally is. That's why I'm here. Like, I just love that. Like, you think it's getting poetic, and then boom, flashback to reality.
Well, no, I mean, it is getting poetic though, because I think Ivy even notices in the next page, she's like, wait, are we both talking about the same thing? So the whole point of this is that Harley's not talking about this plan; she's talking about Joker and her relationship with Joker. So that's what it's doing there. And then they end up like dropping the pod thing, which grows a bunch of vines, and they get kind of trapped in them, and they're kind of like bickering still. And then the big ending is that Joker shows up looking for Harley because he got one of her letters or notes that she left him. And interestingly, Joker's got the face kind of like sort of taped to his face, or what I mean, like back from the start of the New 52 when he had his face cut off and then he sort of taped it back on.
Death of the Family, right? That's what that story was called.
Well, it was before that. It happened at the start of Detective Comics in New 52.
That's right.
He just still had it. He had that look in Death of the Family, but it happened before that. Which is interesting. They're saying that Harley and Ivy like properly met around the start of the New 52, but maybe that makes sense actually when you think about when they've been.
No, it When you look at it in the meta level, it does, because that's where they made the decision to make them a couple.
Okay.
Right? Because always and then it was just kind of, they were always around each other, right? Gotham City Sirens. I don't think it was ever really like, it was intimated, but I don't think they ever made them a couple really until New 52. Because we even get a version of Harley in the New 52. Where's it at? In the New 52 uniform. Let me see.
Yeah, so it's when she's describing stuff, and it's like a montage of the different eras, and and in one of them she's got the blue and the red, like pigtails. Yeah.
Yes. And all that. So
it's interesting to sort of pinpoint at this specifically, because if they just had Joker look kind of normal Joker, it could have been any time. But by giving him this face, it gives you, this is the early New 52 timeline wise.
All right.
So,
yes.
Fair enough. Like,
and that was the thing that I wasn't a real big fan of that, to tie it to a specific time, because this could have just kind of been timeless. And because look at the way that Harley is in her Jester outfit, it is very Paul Dini, Bruce Timm.
Yeah. Also, I will say the art style is kind of weird with his face on this, because inherently the Joker, like, cut off face that's still like sort of been taped back on, is inherently this very monstrous thing, but this is such a cartoony style. It's kind of, I don't know, it's weird. it's like clashing with the art style a little bit.
And the way that he has the big Killing Joke hat on, like the big wide brim with the pinstripe suit too. So it is this weird mix, like that I don't associate with Joker necessarily.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
Almost like, the Tim Burton version of the Jack Nicholson, right? That kind of 30s gangster, but with the cut off face. So again, if we had just gotten the non cut off face, I wouldn't have stumbled as much of it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this though, I do think the voices are pretty good. Even Harley being nervous when Joker shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I got your note," and he, he's very abusive. Like, he grabs her head and smashes it into a pipe or the railing, and pulls out the note, and it's sort of like, you've crossed this out, and then it says, "Dear Joker, I'm leaving." Oh, and then you, Ivy, you were going to take what belongs to me and run off with my property. Yeah, it says property. And that's the moment where Ivy gets kind of pissed and like controls the vines to go out and attack Joker, and she grabs Harley and runs off with her. And that's kind of the ending here. The cliffhanger's her drowning away with Harley in her arms, very heroic. She's kind of saved her from Joker, and then Joker notices one of these pods on the floor, and that's kind of what it ends on. So I will say this, the voices are very good, and it did go in much quicker. It flowed very well. As much as I also agree the art's a bit simplistic for some of the characters, maybe, than what I would like. It does work very well for Harley, to be fair. But the voices are very good, and it does flow very quick. Like, I read this super fast. Like, I was surprised when it ended. I was like, oh shit, it's already over. So, I mean, this is an interesting one to leave us off in, because it sounds like you just want to read more of it anyway. So you're probably going to keep reading this. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah. Again, it might be one of those things that, like with Supergirl, if it's too busy, it would be the first one to go. But no, I have a soft spot for Harley and Ivy. And again, a lot of that is from the last Poison Ivy.
Because I've not read much of their relationship stuff, because typically the Harley Quinn books are this very kind of like Deadpool-esque jokey that I don't like. Yep. And the Poison Ivy book looks fine, but it was never really to my. I guess I'm just not enough of a fan of Poison Ivy specifically to want to read a Poison Ivy book.
That's fair.
But this
also goes in line. Did you ever watch the show on HBO Max?
No.
Because again, that's a bit too whimsical. It might not be your thing.
Yeah, it appealed to me.
Stuff. But this is very much their dynamic too. Here it feels like we're going back over that version as well. So if it just ends up being like a send up to Harley and Ivy, I think it might land a lot better. But
yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be this origin to the relationship, and because I've not read much of the relationship, it actually kind of worked for me, it being an origin. I think it was better. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I guess that's ultimately what I'm trying to say. Not bad. Better than I thought it would be, honestly. So fair play. I think at the very least, Henderson's got a nice knack for voices and a nice knack for flow in her art. I don't necessarily love her like line work per se, but I do like the flow of how all the layouts moved and went. I think because once Joker showed up, there was a lot of red in the backgrounds. All of a sudden, it felt a lot more sinister. You know, and then like the diving
Dangerous.
around, you know, there was a sense of motion to a lot of it that I thought was good. She makes use of the gutters and the negative space a lot as well, which I think is which is good. So, all right, what are you giving Harley and Ivy Life and Crime?
I mean, this is a 7.
Okay, I actually think I will too. I think it's a 7. Yeah, it's good. I think it's a solid book. Not one that I would have tried out on my own, admittedly, but I'm not mad that I read it.